This is the second dust storm we've had in a week's time. They typically last several hours, and the wind gusts will be up to like 60 to 70 miles per hour. That is one way to get your porch cleaned off, but not the way I would prefer. You can see our wood fence is just covered in dirt. I'm heading out for the day. I'll deal with the aftermath of this dust storm when I get back. A local greenhouse should have their spring shipment of perennials in, and I want to go see what all they have and at least start planning for my flower beds, even if our spring weather isn't wanting to cooperate. Last week, we went to Oklahoma to visit our son, daughter-in-law, and little granddaughter and grandson, and the winds seemed to have followed us there. They had terrible winds. Some areas of Oklahoma even had grass fires, and one area suffered great loss. Not where my family lived. Everyone and everything was safe there, but other parts of Oklahoma wasn't as fortunate, and I just hate that for them. But Oklahomans are strong and know how to come together in such circumstances, and they will build back and be okay. But my heart goes out to them, especially those that suffered loss of life. On our way back home from our visit, we stopped to pick up a new antique that I will be sharing with you a little later, but I bought it over the phone from my friend Tina that has a shop called The Skinny Pig in Marlow, Oklahoma. And I wish it would have worked out where I could have shown you around her shop, but we just couldn't connect, and so she had someone meet me there as she was out of town at the moment. But I would love to have been able to show you around her shop. It is so neat. I actually have another video where I have shown her shop in the past. Here we are. Let's go see what they've got. These are beautiful garden and flower boxes. I'm sure they were probably made locally. It smells absolutely amazing in this greenhouse. I want whatever flowers are creating this wonderful scent. This is what I want it to smell like when I step outside into my yard. This smell unlocks core memories for me of both my granny and my grandma's yards. They loved flowers, and their yards always smelled amazing. My granny was always planting rose bushes and had gigantic roses everywhere. I loved sitting on her porch on a hot, humid day with the sweet scent of tea in the air. My grandma's yard was and still is full of so many different kinds of flowers, some that have been there for generations. She has a way with flowers like no one else I've ever seen. I love blanket flowers. These just seem to pop up everywhere in our area. I think hibiscus are so pretty, but I do not have good luck with them. I've planted them in a couple of different places around our house, and they just did not do well. Y'all know I couldn't just look. I think I'm gonna get a couple of these dianthus and maybe a couple more of something to take home, even though I'm not quite sure yet where I'm gonna plant them. Okay, let's make one more stop before heading home. Since I wasn't able to take you along with me to the Skinny Pig, how about a trip to Nam's today? Wow, what a beautiful quilt right inside the front door. They have another butter mold. I like to collect butter molds, but I have several and I bought one just like this one last time I was here, so I think I will pass on this one for now. This is a neat old case of some kind and a mailbox, and this looks like it's from an old Hoosier cabinet. This is such a neat piece. It says it's a coffee urn. This is a replica of an old ice box. This is a pretty little cabinet, but I have no idea what it is. I was kind of expecting it to have drawers inside, maybe for silverware, but it says it is a sheet music cabinet. I've been wanting to get an entry gate for our driveway, but these aren't quite what I have in mind. Now that I'm back home, I'm going to do a little porch and yard maintenance and prep the flower beds a bit to get ready for all the spring blooms, hopefully. Let's start by getting the rockers back up on the porch. Now to take care of these tumbleweeds, the gift that keeps on giving. Tumbleweeds are a native plant to this area that grows with little need for water. They're actually green for parts of the year, then they die and the strong winds come and break them off at the roots, and they go tumbling across the prairie until a fence or something finally stops them. I'm going to clean up the salvia by breaking off the old dead growth. I'm so happy to see most of the salvia is growing and looking good. This large lantana isn't showing any signs of new growth, but it may be a little early for it yet. I will break off the old growth and give it some more time. The daylilies are popping up and looking ready for spring. They have always been a hardy flower for me. It will probably help to get some water to this area again. Winter was a bit much for my soaker hose and it broke at the hydrant. So Chris is going to have to do some maintenance and splice it up and get it fixed back up to be able to water this bed on a daily timer again. I'm eager to see something in my planters on the porch again, so I'm going to just sit the pots of dianthus that I bought from the greenhouse in them for now until I figure out exactly where I want to plant them in the yard. This is another lantana that's not showing any signs of life, but the salvia is already getting a little flower. The Shasta daisies and the hollyhocks are coming along. This Japanese barberry seems to be doing pretty good. Unlike whatever this was that I planted last year, it died pretty quickly, so I know it's going to need replaced. I'm excited to see some green leaves around this coneflower though. I planted 3 coneflowers here along the fence as we were heading into fall last year. I wasn't too sure about them, but they are all showing signs of life this spring. And this dianthus from last year is looking so good. I'm surprised to see the purple salvia, some creeping jenny, and the periwinkle popping up in this planter. My rosebush and the 3 little boxwoods are also beginning to wake up. While at the greenhouse today, I picked up 2 little pots of Calliopesis star cluster. So I'm going to plant one of them here in this spot. I'm going to plant the other Calliopesis over by the bird bath. I'll put it next to this daylily. I'll give these dianthus a drink and call it a day for gardening. Let's go inside and I'll show you what I brought back from Oklahoma. Here she is, a new old table for my dining room. I have been wanting to replace my current dining table because it is just too big for my dining room. This one is about 6 inches shorter and a foot narrower. You may think that doesn't sound like much, but I truly think it's going to make a huge difference. I haven't gotten them swapped out yet, Since the other table is so big and heavy, it's a little difficult for me to help Chris maneuver it. So we are calling in reinforcements and going to have my son come over and help us move it out of the house. It has had some repair work done to the drawer, and when we were loading it, the drawer slid out and broke off a piece that had been glued on. So I have to fix that. I think my chairs are going to work great with it. It may be a little low, but it came with some caster wheels that I was going to leave off, but may have to put them on for the height. I really like how the color of the wood goes with many of my other wood pieces. I also bought another piece in Oklahoma, but I am going to save that to show you a little later. So it will be a surprise for the next video when I hopefully have the table in the dining room. It's looking like a pretty day so far. Still a little windy, but the sun is shining and it looks so nice. I thought I would take you on one more little walk through the garden. I need to do a little pruning and shaping on these boxwoods. This was a lilac chase tree that I planted in the fall and it didn't do so well, and it looks like I'm going to need to replace it. This is a weeping willow tree that we planted in early spring of 2023 along with several others. Gosh, I can't believe it's already been 2 years since we planted them. It has thrived. Some of the others are also doing well, and we did have a few that we lost. This is a crepe myrtle that I planted in the fall when I planted the lilac tree, and it also looks like it just did not make it. This is another Japanese barberry like the one that I showed you yesterday on the other side of the yard, but the verdict is still out on this one. It's not completely bare, but also doesn't look too good. Here's another lantana at the corner of the house, also not showing any signs of life yet, but since that seems to be a running theme with all the lantana, I am going to stay optimistic that they will start to grow a little later in the spring. Here's a view of 3 more of our trees. These are hybrid willows. Thank you for joining me. If you're not already subscribed, I hope you will subscribe and join me again in the next video. To watch more now, click the next video you see on your screen.